Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope everyone's having a great week, great day, great all of that. It's currently Wednesday for me. It's September and I'm 100% convinced that this week was a little bit long, not gonna lie, not trying to complain, but I do feel like there is a day between Wednesday and Thursday that I don't know about because I've been feeling a little bit long recently. But everything's been great, alhamdulillah, and hope everything is good for everyone else as well. But sometimes I feel like life can get a little tiring. It can be a little bit long and it can feel like it's dragging. So I want to talk about that today. So whether you're having a bad day, a bad week, maybe a bad month, and if you're looking back at it, maybe there's some people who feel like they've had a bad year. So this is something that I really want to talk about in this episode. Inshallah, it will be beneficial to somebody. When you're having a bad day, I tell myself this one thing every single time, okay? And I want you to start telling yourself this as well. And inshallah, maybe this will help you. Anytime I have a bad day, I tell myself, I will never have to live through this day again. Okay? Remind yourself that, tell yourself that, listen to that, understand that. You will never have to deal with the same people every day, deal with the same emotions, deal with the same hardships every single day. Yes, there's going to be days that are very, very similar to it. You may have a hardship that's continued throughout, your lifetime, but every single day is unique in a way that you decide to make it, honestly, and I'll get into that more later. But you're never going to have to live the same day twice, okay? That can be for good and bad days. And so remember, when you're having a bad day, that this is it. It's 24 hours. You're going to push through. You're going to wake up and you can reset, okay? Now, let's say you're going through a bad week and it just feels like this whole week has been a drag. I want to remind you something. And even if you're having a bad month, I'm sorry. What is happening? A bad month or a bad year. I want to tell you something collectively about all these concepts. Sometimes we go through seasons in our life where we are meant to heal, where we are meant to grow, where we're meant to become better people and more tolerant and more patient. But instead it feels like we're just breaking down. It feels like every single part of our characteristics or attributes, us as human beings, we're just breaking down. And it feels like, like Allah's putting me through this because He wants me to heal and He wants me to become a strong individual. He wants me to walk on His path. But right now it just feels like I'm breaking down. And it just feels like a drag. Let's be honest, sometimes life just feels like a drag. You're ready to leave. You're ready to, get out of this earth, but deep down you're also not ready to meet Allah. So you're just in this middle of space of nowhere, and it's just kind of like a phase where you're just, the best you can do is keep yourself alive. And I'm not judging anyone who's going through that, because it happens to everybody. It really does. And let me tell you something, when you're going through this type of thing, it's very important that you're so cautious that this era, this phase, or even this week or month or whatever doesn't lead you to having a depression. Yes, I know that a lot of people are depressed in our generation. I know that the word depression has been used really commonly, like it's slang, like people are sad for a day and they call themselves depressed. Depression goes a lot more deeper than that, okay? But it's really important that if you are consecutively seeing bad months, bad years, that you do not turn yourself towards depression, okay? Depression is one of those things that once you turn yourself towards it, it's really, really difficult to get out of it. If people tell you that you can wake up one day and be not depressed, they're lying to you. Getting out of depression is something that you have to do every single day for months and months and months and months. And I believe that even if you feel like you've 100% recovered from depression, it is still a healthy habit thing that you have to maintain of trying to improve yourself every single day and trying to do something that will make you happy every single day. Right? So it's a lifestyle thing. It's something that you have got to adapt. So if you're having a bad day, I need you to sit there and think about what portion of my day was bad. Was it the fact that I woke up late and I missed, my ride? Was it the fact that I got in an argument with somebody at work? Was it the fact that I failed my test? And I want you to pinpoint on those, okay? And then ask yourself, how long were those moments? Were they 10 minutes? Were they 15 minutes? Were they 5 minutes? Was it an hour? Now ask yourself, what is this 5 minutes in comparison to my 24-hour day? Is 1 hour in my day really worth ruining my whole day, which is 24 hours? Think logically about this sometimes. You have a whole day, right? And if we drag out one emotion, one feeling, one time period where something bad happened, then the truth is we can never be happy. And the sooner you understand this and take it in, the better life will really become for you. Yes, you had a bad 5 minutes, probably failed the test, whatever. But now it's time to move on because those 5 minutes are gone and you're not going to get them back. And now you're wasting more time being sad over something that you know you can't get back. Do you realize how like illogical that sounds? But as human beings, we can't control it, right? Because we know this is like how we feel. And it's sometimes the thing about emotions is that they're not always rational. We think out of our literally out of our hearts sometimes. So it's not always easy to be logical in a time when you're sad. But this is something I ask myself all the time. I'm like, dude, it was 5 minutes. Wrap it up. Come on. Let's keep pushing. Let's try to make today a better day. Because if I don't even make an attempt to make today a great day, then I promise you, like, you're gonna lead yourself to depression. I can tell you one thing for a fact: no matter what your lifestyle is, no matter where you live, how old are you, whatever, you are always gonna have problems. Some of us are gonna have a lot more than others. Some of us are gonna have very severe problems. Some of them are gonna be very little, right? But you're always gonna have a problem. But your blessings are a lot more than your problems. You can always count your problems, but you can never ever count your blessings. I know this sounds cliche, but I want you to sit down, try to count your blessings. And I promise you it's impossible. You will never ever have one stopping point. Every breath that you take is a blessing. Every time you blink your eyes, it's a blessing. Your functioning body is a blessing. Your ability to eat food is a blessing. Sleeping at night, getting an education, going to school, getting a job, making money, having food on your plate, maybe having a family. I don't know. Whatever it may be, you have a blessing. And maybe your biggest blessing that you are undermining today, and maybe you've undermined your whole life, is that Allah has given you Islam. This is a blessing that a lot of us forget. If you're born Muslim, you sometimes forget because it's just like, okay, yeah, I'm born Muslim. And then you might pray every day, but you're not understanding why you're praying. You might pray every day, but you don't know what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? And it's okay if you don't understand Arabic, but it's about making the attempt to understand, right? So maybe the biggest blessing that you've undermined in your life that's made you depressed is the fact that you never appreciated God, not just for what He's given you today and right now, but for the fact that He's given you a religion that is so truthful, not just by emotion and in the feelings of our heart, but also by science. He's given you a religion that has predicted things that came out thousands of years ago, right? He sent like the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who told us such valuable information, which we see coming true today, right? So you have all this amazing power. And let me tell you something. If you believe in Allah, you believe in one God, you believe in the sufficiency of Allah, right? Then you should automatically believe in your problems being solved. Because now that you have the belief that there's a higher power out there, there's somebody who's predicted these things thousands of years ago, there's somebody who's guiding this whole earth, there's someone that's running this whole earth the way that it runs, you automatically in your heart have deep down a belief that your problems are absolutely nothing in compared to how powerful God is, right? But this is where Shaitan comes and tries to play with you. He tries to tell you that Allah alone is not sufficient for your needs, for your problems. He tries to tell you that you have to seek your solution from every single aspect of life and, run around this dunya and chase this dunya to help your problems get solved. And that's where we all mess up. Because trust me, I think everyone has chased this world at one point. You will always find that you'll end up with more problems. But when you start to believe that is Allah sufficient for me, you'll realize that a lot of your problems, first of all, they'll get solved, a lot of them. But if they don't get solved, right? And let's say you're going through a really long trial, you'll realize that throughout this trial, while you may not like what you're going through, Allah, who is sufficient, who knows more than we know, is going to turn you into a better person. Maybe you've turned bitter right now. Maybe you've turned broken and sad right now. But eventually, your hardship today might be what makes you the best dream human being that you wanted to be 5 years from now. Because I think everyone has an aspect or image of themselves in their mind of what they want to be, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And if you don't, you should really plan that out and think about it so you have a goal to work towards. But it's really important to remember that. In times of panic and anxiety, when I'm having a bad day, I sometimes ask myself this one question, right? And this question, it always leaves me speechless, and inshallah, it will help you guys too. If I'm going through a hardship and I see no solution, if I'm going through a bad day, I always ask myself, is Allah not sufficient for me? That's it. That's all I ask myself. And obviously, the answer is always like, of course He's sufficient for me, right? Because He's so powerful. So then I ask myself, if Allah is sufficient for me, then why am I carrying anxiety? Why am I worrying? Why am I putting myself in bad emotion? Why am I beating myself down, telling myself that I'm not doing good enough? Because if Allah is sufficient for me, then He'll handle all that for me, right? If Allah is sufficient for me, then I don't need to deal with this anxiety, right? And then that's where the concept of tawakkul and putting your trust in Allah comes in. Because when you realize that, yes, Allah is sufficient for me, now you got to install that in your heart. You got to install the faith. And the biggest way that I was able to grow my trust in God is actually through science, through the science of the Quran, through seeing how Allah, peace be upon Him, He helped all the prophets before us. He helped everyone, right? And the prophets, peace be upon all of them, they went through the worst conditions, worse than all of us human beings combined, right? And if Allah was sufficient for them, of course He's going to be sufficient for us. And if He wasn't going to be sufficient for you, He quote quote didn't love you, He didn't, He wanted to harm you, you would have never been here today being a Muslim, seeking out God, seeking out the religion, things like that. Sometimes we're seeking out the religion and we're doing everything we can to be a better Muslim, and it feels like we're in a period of depression, just like neutrality, like there's nothing that can make us feel better. But I want to remind you that when Allah wishes good for His servant, He wishes him the knowledge of the religion, right? He wishes you for you to seek this religion. And if you're on your path right now seeking the religion, seeking Islam, trying to learn more, whether it's through my podcast or even, great big scholars, you're headed down the right path. So stop worrying, okay? Because Allah is sufficient for you. And right now your heart may not feel it. Shaitan might put doubts in you, but Allah is sufficient for you. And sometimes the biggest solution to your hardest tests is just knowing that He's sufficient for you and putting your trust in that. Because maybe that's why we go through things. We like to tell ourselves in our brain that, oh yeah, I believe in Allah, I believe He'll help me. But then when time comes and you're sitting there panicking with anxiety, depression, and stress, and you don't know what to do, that is where you need to trust Allah the most. Because where in the Quran did Allah ever say, I need you to carry some anxiety and stress? Nowhere. Nowhere. Allah never told us to do that. Leave it up to Him. He'll take care of it. If He put the problem upon you, He'll take care of it. You do whatever you can, right? So now that you've prayed for this problem, you've cried for this problem, you've done it all, now it's time to chill. Let me tell you something. And I think like this as well sometimes. Whenever I'm having a bad day, bad week, bad month, whatever, right? Going through a hardship, I tell myself, I'm like, I cried, okay? Like, I cry real quick. So I cried. I done my end of crying, right? I've done my end of being emotional. I prayed. I done my end of being religious and, praying, seeking out God. I also made dua. I did my end of seeking out to Allah to help, right? So I did whatever I could. And of course, I worked hard in whatever the situation may be. Then after that, what else do you expect me to do? I'm a human being. There's only so much I can do, right? So now it's just about leaving it up to Allah. And let me tell you something. We try to share our burdens with other people and we end up feeling really depressed because not a lot of people can understand us. And moreover, we end up feeling like we're a burden on them, like we're annoying for sharing our problems. There is a Lord who listens to you 24/7, even after you commit a sin, even after you haven't prayed in 10 years. He's there for you every single day, and He protects you from things you don't even know. Right? Think about that. Who can care for you more than Allah? It's having a bad day, bad week, bad month, whatever, bad year, going through depression. Sit down, talk to God, and just ask yourself, isn't Allah sufficient for me? And I promise you, your answer will always be that Allah is sufficient. Because His mercy and His power has no limits. Inshallah, this was beneficial for somebody. I hope you all have a great day. May Allah keep and protect all of you.